I'm trying to set this back up again. So many of you have complained that the mundane clock isn't running in the background. I've given up. I'm just going to reset it. And yeah, when I'm editing my videos, we're just going to have to get used to the fact that the hands might be jumping around all over the place. Although I am having a few issues trying to get it to tell the correct time. I think I've got to realign the hands, which is a real mission. So I'll just let it do its thing while I'm doing this review and I'll address it afterwards. What am I doing today? I'm reviewing a new release by Baltany. I really like Baltany watches. I really like the Baltany brand, actually. One of the reasons I like them so much is because they do things right. For example, if a watch needs an NH38, they'll put an NH38 in it. They won't put an NH35 in it and then accept that you guys have to deal with the ghost position on the crown. Something else I like that they do, if they want to make a watch with a blue hand on it, they will use a proper thermally treated blued hand. They won't use painted or chemically treated hands. I don't think, anyway. Maybe they have in the past, but certainly the last few watches that I've seen of theirs that have blue hands on them, they have been proper blued hands. And yeah, there's a small seconds complication subdial or small seconds subdial on this watch, and the hand is blue. It is a proper blued hand. So yeah, it's a cracking brand and they do things right. I did used to complain, however, that quite often their buckles weren't finished in the same way that their cases were, but yeah, again, they have been doing that now for some time. So the buckle on this strap is polished and the case is fully polished. Yeah, it is very nice. Right, there's a dash of familiarity with this watch, isn't there? Not just because Baltany have used this case before and produced very similar looking watches recently, but with different movements. This is a homage watch. It's a driver's watch. In the early 20s, cars used to have huge steering wheels. And so in order to operate those steering wheels, you would have to have palms up, so wrists up. And if you were wearing a traditional watch on top of your wrist, you wouldn't be able to see the time. So watches like this were invented to be worn on the underside of your wrist, so that when you're driving your car, yeah, you can still see the time. And the crown is located and the 12 o'clock position is located at an angle, just to make it easier to read the time while the watch is underneath your wrist. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. Now, with this one housing a quartz movement, I don't expect it to be the most popular watch that Baltany have produced, because I know many of you tend to focus on automatic watches, and they have produced similar watches to this with automatic movements inside them. But of course, the benefit of quartz movements, you don't need me to tell you really, but yeah, pick up and go. So it's going to be set, it's going to be accurate. You're not going to need to constantly adjust it every time you pick it out of your watch box and you haven't worn it for a few days or weeks. And also, the case is just a bit slimmer. It is going to slide under a cuff far more easily than it would if it housed an H38, for example, or an NH35. The movement inside this watch is the VD78, I believe. So quartz movement with a subdial, seconds subdial on it. Yeah, it's nice. There's a couple of colour options available. They've sent me the darker dial version. If I was to choose one of the two, the other one is a sort of white silvery dial. If I was to choose one of the two, it would probably be the lighter dial option. I do tend to prefer watches with lighter dials, although legibility probably better on this one because the hands are going to contrast a little bit more against that darker background. Decent specifications with this watch, as I'm sure you would expect from Baltany. 316L stainless steel, beautiful leather strap, and sapphire crystal, double-domed sapphire crystal, so decent materials. The polishing on the buckle and on the case seems to be very, very nice. The case is a screwed down case back, or has a screwed down case back. So 8 screws holding down the case back, fully polished. But on this particular watch, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue because the lugs actually drop lower than the back of the case looks. So when you pop this watch down on a surface, the case back isn't going to be resting on that surface. So it shouldn't scratch up too much. And I don't think your wrist is necessarily going to scratch it up too much. But yeah, the sides of the case look to be nicely done. The top of the case, I don't think there's any brushing on this watch at all, actually. Gorgeous leather strap. Yep, smells of leather. Very nice matching stitching. Seems to be very nicely finished. It's sort of cracking already, so it's going to have a slightly distressed look early on, I think, but it's soft and malleable. That's going to be comfortable straight away. Yeah, lovely dimensions, and as I mentioned, because it's housing a quartz movement, it's not very deep at all, this one. 50 meters of water resistance, no loom with this watch, of course. Yeah, it's another nice offering, isn't it? $121, I've just checked. $121 at the moment, at the time of filming this video. I hope during the upcoming sale at the end of May, beginning of June, it's going to be discounted. Yeah, it's nice to see them producing more affordable options of their watches, because in the past, Baltany have produced some gorgeous 9015 and 9039 powered automatic watches, but they've been quite expensive. So yeah, for those of us on a slightly more restrictive budget, it's nice to see them producing more affordable options like this. Gorgeous hands, I have to say. Gorgeous dial, actually. I like the numbers, very much in keeping with the style of watch, of course. But yeah, I really like the hands, and I like the counterbalance on that second hand. It's a sort of partial moon or moon crest. I like it. Now I'm curious, if you were to own one of these watches, how would you wear it? Would you wear it under your wrist like you're supposed to, like it was designed to be used? Or like me, I think I would just wear it in the more traditional way. I don't know, I think I'd feel like a bit of a plonker walking around with this watch under my wrist, because also when you're driving nowadays, you know, sort of like that in our little rude boy cars, aren't we? So, well, some of us are. So yeah, I think I'd probably wear it on top of my wrist, actually. But yeah, I'm curious. Let me know, guys. How would you wear this watch? Right, I'm going to try and fix this thing so that next time you come back, hopefully it'll be working properly, telling the proper time, and jumping all over the place because of my edits. As always, guys, thanks for watching.